You ever feel overwhelmed by your daily to-do list? When it comes to money and life in general, simpler often means better. It's a myth that success requires us to attend every major networking event or read every single piece of news out there on the web. True productivity comes from focusing on fewer, more meaningful tasks. One of my favorite books, The One Thing, actually teaches us that less is more and one is better. And in this video, I'm going to highlight my 10 favorite lessons from the book, The One Thing, the surprisingly simple truth behind extraordinary results. And if you're new here, I'm Dr. Jeff Anzalone, a paradontist in a mission to get you out of the rat race with passive income. If you haven't already downloaded the free passive income guide, do so with the link below the video. Let's get going. Lesson number 1. Success is sequential. So this is the first key lesson that I got whenever I read the book, that success is sequential. It comes one step at a time, not what many of us always think, all at once. Have you ever wondered how really successful people, they just get so much done, even though we all have the same amount of time every day? But when you're around them, it may look like they're like juggling all these different things at once. So for instance, consider entrepreneurs who start multiple companies or athletes who excel at several sports. On the surface, it seems like they're doing a bunch of things at the same time, but actually their approach is really quite different than just the average person. These really focused, hyper-focused people, they focus on building their abilities if they are an athlete, or their businesses one at a time. So the next time you find yourself just bogged down with multiple tasks, focus on the most important one first. Now, stick with it until you finish, and then that's when you tackle the next one. This straightforward way of doing things is how remarkable people make remarkable achievements, and you can do the same. Moving on to number 2, the power, this is huge, the power of concentration. Now, focusing intensely on just one main thing can lead to extraordinary outcomes, a principle evident not only in personal success, but you can also see this in the business world. For instance, take Coca-Cola. While they have a broad portfolio of beverages, right? Actually, the original Coca-Cola formula remains their flagship product. This single drink, introduced way back in 1886, has actually been the cornerstone of their global branding and their sales efforts, significantly outpacing all their other products in revenue generation. Then you have another company called Gillette, who's known primarily for their what? Their razors, right? Despite them branching out into other personal care products, their razors continue to be synonymous with the brand and and that's their major revenue driver. Their focus on providing a high quality shaving experience has kept them at the forefront of the grooming industry. Last but not least, take a look at Canon, which actually they dominate the digital camera market. Now, while they have diversified over into printers and other office equipment, their cameras, especially one that I own, the EOS series, they're what truly define Canon. Now, these high-performance cameras are not just popular among consumers, but also a major source of their income, underscoring the success of their focus strategy. Now, these examples I just gave you, they demonstrate how a single product, when developed and marketed with focused effort, can lead to remarkable success. But it's important that the product be exceptional. Otherwise, this strategy could backfire. This approach by successful companies shows us that intentional focus can indeed yield impressive results. Now, how can we apply this lesson to our own goals and our own projects? Well, let's look at the next lesson, and that is this. Number 3, asking great questions. This actually emphasizes the transformative power that you can have by just focusing on one thing. So achieving remarkable results isn't just about excelling at a task, but also about ensuring it's the right task. And the journey to that realization starts with the right question. Now, historical figures have often highlighted the significance of questions. Albert Einstein once remarked that the formulation of a problem is often more essential than its solution, suggesting that the way we ask questions influences the answers we discover. Socrates, the classic Greek philosopher, He actually championed the method of systematic questioning to get to the truth, known as the Socratic method. Eleanor Roosevelt, a former First Lady of the United States, also noted that one's philosophy is not best expressed in words, it's expressed in the choices that we make. And then the choices that we make are ultimately based on our what? Questions. So ultimately, extraordinary achievements stem from the ability to ask insightful questions that lead to effective actions. So when it comes to pinpointing what is truly essential, the questions we should ask ourselves is what, and this is probably out of everything in the book, this was the cornerstone that I got out of the book. It's this question right now. Okay, so if you find yourself just during the day, you're doing this, you're multitasking, you're checking this email, or in my case, I'm reading this patient's chart, or answering an email, or writing an article, or writing a YouTube video script, or whatever. This is one thing that has definitely helped me, and I think can definitely help you. Ask yourself this question: what's the one thing that I can do today for my main goal that by doing it will make everything else easier or unnecessary? Let me repeat that. What's the one thing that I can do today for my main goal that by doing it will make everything else easier or unnecessary? This is about identifying the action that provides the greatest leverage. Finding the answer, I understand it can be challenging because difficult answers, they come from difficult questions. The key here is not to become overwhelmed, but to cultivate the habit of consistently asking this focusing question. Now, with ongoing practice, you'll get better at pinpointing the actions that deliver the most significant results. Moving on to my fourth favorite lesson from the One Thing book, it's about the power of practicing selective discipline. The power of practicing selective discipline. Now, there's a common misconception that to be successful, you need to be ultra disciplined in every aspect of your life. You watch some of these Instagram videos and Facebook reels, and you see these really successful people, and they're starting their day, and they're waking up at the crack of dawn, and their first thing they're doing is they're jumping into a cold plunge, and then they're going to work out for 2 hours, and then when they sit down to eat, they're counting every calorie on their, they're counting their macros, and then they go out and they're juggling all these tasks. However, this just all doing all this just isn't just real unrealistic. It's a recipe for burnout. In fact, trying to maintain such an intense routine across all areas of your life isn't something that most of us would enjoy. True success isn't about being disciplined in everything. It's about being disciplined, selectively disciplined, where it counts the most. Success comes from focusing intensely on the right thing, not trying to do everything perfectly. Consider the inspiring story of Stephen Hawking, the renowned physicist. Now, at a young age, he was diagnosed with ALS, and this is a disease that has actually progressively paralyzed him. Now, whenever he got this, whenever he was diagnosed with this, he was faced with go through his whole life with this immense physical disability. And despite his limitations, his intellectual pursuits in theoretical physics didn't require, thankfully, much physical exertion, but it did require intense mental focus. So he selectively applied his discipline to his research and scientific studies, particularly in the areas of black holes and quantum mechanics. Now, these efforts led to groundbreaking contributions to our understanding of the entire universe. This is all from a guy who was basically in a wheelchair with ALS. So his journey teaches us that to achieve remarkable outcomes, we don't need to exert our energy everywhere, but we should direct it towards what we're passionate about and where we can make the most impact. By practicing this selective discipline, we can maximize our effectiveness and achieve extraordinary results, just as Stephen Hawking did in his career. Now, my fifth favorite lesson from the One Thing is this, and I'll admit, I'm guilty as charged. Multitasking is a myth. Now, we often find ourselves drawn to multitasking, especially I'm talking to you now and I have multiple monitors and I have things everywhere where I'm already set up to multitask. Okay. So sometimes we set ourselves up like this, drawn to multitasking because it feels productive. So for example, hitting a roadblock, during one of my writing sessions, it may prompt me to go and check my email, or Maybe if you're working out and it feels tough, just take a look around the gym. What do people do that that are on a break at the gym? They're what? They're scrolling through their phones, right? Looking at social media sites. During lengthy conference calls, you're on these Zoom calls. It can be very tempting to maybe jump on another screen and simultaneously clean up your desktop files, or maybe look through some paperwork or something like that that's been piling up. And then after doing all this, we might give ourselves a pat on the back for our ability to juggle all these different tasks. Why? Because we managed to respond to emails while drafting an article. We maintained our social media presence while we were supposed to be working out, and we contributed to a Zoom meeting while cleaning up our computer. However, if we're really honest with ourselves, we often feeling unsatisfied, a lot of times worn out. The truth hits hard. None of these tasks were done particularly well. This is because true multitasking is a myth. It's a lie. Yes, it's possible to drive and talk or walk and text, but what we're really doing is not multitasking, it's task switching. This constant flipping between tasks leads to poor decisions, increased stress, and most critically, subpar results. So when it comes to focusing on your one most important thing, I want you to give it your undivided attention. By concentrating solely on that task, you'll not only perform better, but you'll also achieve more meaningful and effective outcomes. Now, moving on to my sixth favorite lesson from The One Thing, challenges the popular belief that maintaining a perfectly balanced life is ideal. It's ideal, or it's even a possibility. Let me explain. Many of us cling to the notion that we should equally distribute our time and our energy across all areas of our life to achieve balance. However, this belief is more of a myth than a practical reality. When you give priority to and focus on your most important goals, it's natural for other areas to experience somewhat imbalance, because kind of like a scale, you're as you're putting more over here, this goes up like this, right? So this is just a normal part of striving for significant achievements. Okay. So for example, if you're engrossed in maybe launching a new online business, or maybe you're preparing for some sort of certification exam, you might find yourself spending less time on your hobbies. Maybe you're not working out as much. Maybe you're not spending as much time with your kids, or getting out social activities, something like that. The concept to embrace here is not constant balance, but counterbalance. Understanding that periods of imbalance are acceptable. When you understand this, that periods of imbalance to your life are acceptable, then guess what? That can free you. That can free your mind. That can free your thoughts from other things. So if you spent a lot of time, maybe at night, or maybe you spent a lot of time at the office working late at night on that startup, or you're spending a lot of time working on studying for that exam, plan to counterbalance this by dedicating time. Focus on, yes, you can do that, but then counterbalance that. Dedicate on your schedule, time to relax with friends or relax with your family. And once these intense periods wind down, this method of counterbalancing means fully engaging in work when it's necessary and switching to fully engage in your personal life or leisure activities when possible. Now, by doing so, you focus intensely when needed, and you still maintain a fulfilling personal life. Number 7, and this is what I love to do, and I love to teach about this. This lesson from The One Thing is about the effectiveness of start blocking out your time. Okay, and this is a strategy that I've learned from just simply observing really successful people, many of my coaches, many of my mentors. Now, this approach focuses on setting aside specific periods for your most important activities, ensuring that you give them your full attention. Now, in my own routine, I've adopted this method by scheduling 90 minutes each day specifically for exercise to maintain my health and energy. Additionally, I dedicate specific blocks each week to create these type of YouTube videos. And then I create blog posts, ensuring that I consistently provide valuable content for you and other people in my audience. I also prioritize my personal life by blocking out quality time to spend with my wife and kids each week, making sure that our relationships continue to thrive. So successful people understand that time blocking isn't just about managing time, It's about being selective with what you choose to focus on. It means that being okay with letting other less critical tasks take a back seat. Now, this might involve being slower to approach and to respond to emails, maybe spending less time in meetings, or maybe postponing some paperwork. That's okay. The key is to accept that you can't do everything well all the time. And by focusing on your most important tasks throughout these extremely focused, dedicated time blocks, you can now achieve more meaningful progress in those areas that you're supposed to be working on that you blocked out. All right. My eighth favorite lesson from the One Thing emphasizes the critical role of controlling your environment to support your goals. Now, we often underestimate how much of our surroundings, from maybe the people that we interact with every day to the very, like I just talked about, to the very setup of our workspaces, affect our productivity and our focus. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future, goes the saying, highlighting the profound effect that all those around us have on our lives. Similarly, Proverbs 11:14 states, where there is no guidance, the people fall. But in an abundance of counselors, there is safety, underscoring the value of surrounding yourself with wise and supportive individuals. If we aim truly to focus on our one thing, we must actively consider our environment. The people we spend time with can influence our moods, our attitudes, and ultimately our performance. They can either serve as our counselors, providing wisdom and support, or as distractions that really just divert us from our goals. Now, my ninth favorite lesson from the One Thing is that extraordinary results require big energy. Simply identifying our one thing, shaping our environment, and maintaining focus are important steps, but they're not enough just on their own. We also need to consider our energy levels because achieving our one thing demands a significant amount of energy and stamina. So the authors of the One Thing propose a daily energy plan that resonates with actually me deeply, and it involves several key components. Number one, meditate and pray. Engaging in meditation and prayer is critical for cultivating spiritual energy, which actually grounds and centers us, providing that strong foundation for all the other activities. Eat right, exercise, and sleep sufficiently. So all three of these things addresses what? Your physical energy. Just like a high performance vehicles needs the right fuel and regular tune-ups, our bodies need the right fuel as well, the right food, adequate exercise, and plenty of rest. Then you want to make sure that you connect with your loved ones. Embrace and spend quality time with your family and friends to boost your emotional energy, and because these interactions are vital for happiness. And then set your goals and plan. So for mental energy, it's essential to organize your thoughts and tasks. I find that actually writing down my goals and my one thing significantly boosts my motivation because I'm always focused on that. All right. Now, my 10th favorite lesson is about this: embracing the path to mastery. Now, it's tempting to think that once we achieve our one thing, we're done. Okay. Mission accomplished, right? However, we must remind ourselves that achieving this one thing is merely just a milestone in the broader journey of life. The journey of mastery never ends. An aspiring example of this mindset comes from the life of Morai Yushiba. He's actually the founder of Aikido. If you're not really sure what Aikido is, if you've ever seen any Steven Seagal movies where people are punching and kicking him, how he can just effortlessly block those, that is Aikido. He practices Aikido. All right. So from the founder of Aikido, even in his later years, he was known to express his status as an eternal student of the martial arts. He believed that the learning and the refinement of his craft was endless. Now, despite his advanced age and the depth of his expertise, he famously regarded himself a beginner, continuously seeking bigger understanding and greater harmony in the martial art, even though he started it. So this perspective highlights that mastery isn't about achieving a static state of perfection, but it's a continuously growing process of growth and learning. Embracing mastery is as never ending pursuit is both inspiring and practical. It keeps us motivated, always pushing the boundaries of our abilities and understanding. Mastery is about the journey itself more than the specific achievement. Kind of like that book, Chop Wood, Carry Water. It's not about reaching that goal, maybe if you have a goal or goals, but it's actually looking back, looking at the person that you've created. It's the process that you've done to get to that point. So for instance, if you're trying to lose 40 pounds, maybe you only lose 25. Well, kind of like that book by Ben Hardy, The Gap in the Game. Most people are living in the gap because they're so focused on, hey, they didn't lose 40 pounds, they only lost 25 pounds. Instead of looking behind them, looking at the gain, what did they accomplish, right? What's the process? This person, now look at this person. He's actually walking around the block. He's exercising. He's lifting weights. He's being more mindful at the food that they're eating, which before that person never did any of that. Okay. So it's that constant looking back. It's that constant process, but it's not the goal itself. It's about the journey along the way. It's that process. It's consistently becoming a better person. Now, I know we've talked a lot about goals and one thing and all that stuff. So if you're not sure about what you should do to set really good goals for yourself, or maybe you don't even have, maybe you've never done it before and you don't know where to start, anything like that, I have something for you. Check out this video. Well, I'll help you out tremendously. It's helped me out some. See you in the next video.